How's it going, everyone? KingBlackToof here. So today I want to analyze the Shupe's Bizarre Adventure card. Now, there's a main reason why I'm doing this is to actually tell you, the viewers, the audience, the 15 variations of Shupe. It can be played in 15 different ways, and I think a lot of people don't know exactly what they are or how to find out what they are. So I want to do that mainly, but I thought I might as well analyze each one as we go through, possibly see which one is the highest value, see which particular variation out of the three, Mage, Hunter or Knight, is the most likely to have something really good for you, because there's a little bit of RNG involved in Shupe's Bizarre Adventure. Okay, and so providing you actually manage to build the deck that you think is okay, how do you find out what the abilities of the Mage, the Hunter and the Knight are? Well, unfortunately it's not very simple, apart from looking up videos like this one, which I will go through, but you can play the card from your hand and you get a choice of what you want to do, and you can have a look. Let's do this one because it looked quite fun. Okay, now the best way to figure it out for yourself is to play it 3 times, one with a Mage, one for Hunter, one for Knight, and you can right click the card when it's on the board and you can see all the 5 variations there that he can do. So just to give you a quick rundown of his abilities before we go into in more detail, his Mage version has the ability to draw a card for 1 card advantage. He can charm a random enemy. Charming means you pull an enemy from the opponent's side of the board to your side, like Muzzle, but it has no upper limit and it is instant, but it is random. He can spawn a random hazard on all enemy rows, which looks something like that. He can also deal 10 damage to an enemy and 5 damage to adjacent enemy, being 20 value. Requires the enemies to be close together. And you can play a bronze or silver special card from your deck. You do get to choose which one that is. So the next variation is Shupe Hunter. This is an 8 strength gold, and his abilities are to deal 15 damage to an enemy, deal 2 damage to a random enemy and then repeat 8 times. Replay a bronze or silver ally and boost it by 5. Clear all hazards from your side and boost allies by 1. And play a bronze or silver unit from your deck. And Shupe's final form is Shupe Knight. This is a 12 strength, the strongest variation of Shupe, and his abilities are to strengthen himself to 25, to gain resilience on his 12 strength form, duel an enemy, reset a unit, or destroy enemies with less than 4 power. So, first of all, if your starting deck has no duplicate, so in order to play this guy, basically it's bronzes. You can only have 1 of each bronze in your deck. So you are really limiting your synergy between bronzes, or the impact of your bronzes. There's no way of getting like several of the same bronzes out unless you do some more create options. But some factions and archetypes don't care about that too much, and there's still synergy with silvers and bronzes and golds and bronzes and such. Like, for example, a good idea here is Barclay Elves into a dwarf, you know, which is pretty good. You've got Hattori into Barclay Elves into dwarf. They still synergize well. You've got Paulie into a dwarven skirmisher if you played that earlier. So there are still some synergies you can do with Shupe's Bizarre Adventure. And I think if you're trying to build a deck with this guy, I think some archetypes and some factions are a lot better at this than possibly other ones. I think Northern Realms might be one of the worst because they've got a lot of low strength stuff that relies on buffing and, you know, crewmen and stuff like that. So, you know, you want maximum amount of bronzes, and they do a lot of musters and pulling things out and stuff. It also ruins a bit of your thinning. You're not going to really be able to use Reaver Scouts or Slyzards and things that draw more from the deck, because you've only got 1 in each, 1 in the deck. So you'll have to start putting in things like Clear Skies, Reconnaissance, maybe Last Wish, maybe Alzor's Double Cross, or Marching Orders, or Gells, or Raw Decree. You know, some way of getting the particular cards you want, or to have a bit of an option. So first of all, the Mage is a 4 strength gold, and its first ability is to draw a card. Now, it's hard to actually pinpoint how much strength drawing a card is worth. CD Projekt Red seem to base it around 13 strength with their spies, don't they? But it really depends on what card you're going to draw. If you're going to draw a gold, then it's really powerful. It also depends on whether you need the last say or whether you've got card advantage already. Most of the time, 1 card advantage is usually enough. If you've got the last say, that's usually enough. You don't need more. The fact is, the troll, at least from my little testing, might find out new stuff during this video, is that he can easily get to 25 value. So I think drawing a card, you're less likely to get 25 value or 21 extra value from that particular card you draw. So a lot of people do focus on this particular ability, but I don't necessarily think it's the be all and end all of the abilities that you want to choose. You do want to experiment, but if you need the card advantage to get the last say, or you're looking for a really good gold that will get you more than 21 value, then draw a card is pretty good. So the next ability is to charm a random enemy. Now this is really strong. There's no limit on the charm. If you don't know what charm does, it moves an enemy from the opponent's side to your side. Okay, so there's no limit on that, which means you can really guide this particularly well. When you play Shupe, could be very influential to which unit you're going to charm, because it's an instant charm. So they play like a 20 strength Double Armada Protector in round 3. You can play Shupe, get 4 strength, and also charm that. If it's 20 strength, that's a 40 strength play. It's really big. So this is a really good one to get. However, if you're playing against Swarm, it's not a good one. The more units on the board, the more random it gets. So it's an isolated good one. You can just throw the dice and give it a shot. But I think this does lend to some strategic play with Shupe if you manage to get into that sort of situation, which I really like. The next one is to spawn random hazards on all enemy rows. Now this is quite RNG. You don't quite know what you're going to get. Here, for example, we got a pit trap. It did 3 damage to him. We got a frost here, and we got a blood moon. So the 2 units that have rows, the 2 weathers that have those particular rows on, they actually are not going to do any more damage now because, you know, they're on contact weathers. But you can get any weather: Ragnarok, drought, blood moon, frost, fog, rain, Skellige storm. So there's a lot of really good options for you, and you know, it's quite powerful. Now I think this is a risky one because 1 clear skies and it's all gone, especially if you're not playing a particularly weather deck. I've played Shupe here in a Francesca deck with no other weathers, so I think this is one which, while it looks cool and has potential to be amazing, I think it's super risky because most people have at least 1 clear skies in some form in their deck. But it is a good one as well, a decent one that you might consider going for. It will do minimum 6 damage, but that may get healed up when the clear sky comes. The next ability is to deal 10 strength to an enemy and 5 damage to adjacent enemies. So that is 20 value there, plus the 4 on his body, that's 24 value. Not the highest, but very close to the highest. So, you know, providing they've got 3 units next to each other, a strong one in the middle, this can be worth a lot of points here. So 24 maximum here, with a little condition on basically not losing value here and there. Really strong choice there. So at the minute we've got some pretty strong choices with the mage one. And the final ability is to play a bronze or silver special card from your deck. That one is probably not too interesting. You may be able to do it, but I don't think you'll be building Shupe in hoping to get that. So you may be able to do it, but I think you'll probably get something which is probably worth a little bit more value than a silver special card. You do get to choose, so you could go for that particular Scorch or Artifact Compression, which could be worth a lot more. But I think the mage here has, you know, quite a few which are pretty good. I think the deal 10 damage one is pretty safe value, unless you play it super early. But that is when you do want to play charming. You do want to play it super early when they've already got 1 unit to try and get that. But I mean, you're never going to be stuck. I mean, you can spawn random hazards if they've only got 1 unit. You could play that bronze or silver, try and get the Scorch, or you could possibly just draw a card. So the mage one is reasonably good, not too bad in terms of the amount of things that you might not want. So very good one. Maximum value, it's hard to say. This one is definitely probably one of the more RNG type ones, you know, random enemy, random hazards, and he's only 4 strength, so you'll need something big in order to actually make it up to a nice 25-ish, which is what I'm setting as my baseline. So Shupe's second variation, the Hunter one, is an 8 strength gold, and he can deal 15 damage to one particular unit. Now, it's likely you might lose some value on that if you're getting rid of a really important card, or you'll just go for pure value, in which case it's a 23 point play, which is not bad, not as much as Ciri Nova. I think she's a good baseline to go for. You don't ruin your deck as much, and there's less RNG on her, so 25 is a good baseline to compare it to. You've got deal 2 damage to a random enemy and repeat 8 times. So if I'm reading it right, it happens 9 times, so that's 26 value in total, because that'll hit 18 strength. So it's not for targeted removal, although if the board is relatively small, it probably will do enough removal to get the thing that you want, because it will hit a lot of times for 2 strength. Possible to lose a little bit of value on 1 strength units, but 26 maximum there. We can replay a bronze or silver ally and boost it by 5. So it's basically a decoy, but instead of boosting by 3, it boosts by 5. And you get the 8 strength of the Shupe hunter himself. So it really depends on what you're replaying. Now, the first thing that comes to mind in the deck that I built is Barclay Owls, or maybe Hattori, or maybe Poorly. These really good silvers that give you a lot of tempo play. For example, so Barclay Owls would be 5 strength, plus whatever dwarf he played. Let's assume dwarves are about 12 value, so that's 17 plus the 8, that's a 25 point play, which is really, really nice. We have clear all hazards from your side and boost allies by 1. This one is quite situational. Obviously not many weathers going around. Could be useful, but it wouldn't be massively big strength, but it would deny the weather ticking, and there's a lot of dangerous weathers going on now. So this one is a very situational one. So in terms of this RNG of the hunter, you do have the possibility of having one particular dead slot here, I think. And finally, you can play a bronze or silver unit from your deck. Again, it based on, you know, what bronze or silver you're playing. You could play Iris into a pit trap, for example, which could give you 25 value plus the 8. You could play Barclay Owls or Poorly to summon a skirmisher, which is like another 22 point play by itself. So, you know, the potential of playing a bronze or silver unit from your deck is quite high, but that really depends on your deck as well as the game that you're in at that particular point. So as for the hunter, I think he's got some really nice damaging options, some pretty consistent high value, but he does have one particular dead one and possibly another dead one here, replaying a bronze or silver ally if you don't have one that is any good to replay. But I think you only choose the hunter if you are happy to get that one, because that's the one I normally go for with Barclay Owls or Poorly. You could also go for this one as well, but really don't choose the hunter unless you've got something to bounce, because you know you have to wait into a quite, this looks like maybe an end game play really. You know, they'll have a lot of strength on the board, so you'll be able to do a lot of damage, or you can replay a unit which is really important to you. I don't think you're going to go for weather very much with this guy, just to let you know. So the final variation of Shupe is Shupe Knight, a 12 strength gold, which is the highest value off the bat to start with. Now, his first ability is to strengthen to 25. So that's just a basic 25 point play. 25 is quite high. I mean, considering we've looked at the hunter, we've looked at the mage, and, you know, roughly it's about 25, 23, 26 is about the high point. So this is a really easy 25 point play. Now, it is strengthened, so you could adrenaline rush him, but he can be scorched, of course. He can't be coralled, which is a really nice thing. And I think it's worth comparing him to Ciri Nova, because she's 25 points plus any boost that she's got. And she's quite easy to get off, you know. You got a bit of RNG on him, and, you know, you have to build your deck in a worse way than you would with Ciri Nova. So it's worth comparing 25 points to Ciri Nova and say that she's probably better. But it's still the higher variation of Shupe. So the next one is giving himself resilient. So I don't necessarily like this one too much. It's a 12 strength resilient gold, so it can't be coralled. You know, Geralt Igni won't work if he's on his own. But I just feel like you shouldn't really be using a gold card that's your whole deck is built around just for a 12 strength resilience. I feel like you can use dwarves, or you can use Barba Gatzi for these things. You don't really need to use him. So I don't consider that one a good option, personally. There's going to be a couple of situations where you could do it. You know, if this is your final card and you only need 8 strength to win, you might as well stick a resilience on 12. The next ability is to duel an enemy. So this version of Shupe has 12 strength, so it's 24 value basically. You're 12 and you'll do 12 damage. Now you can hit things which are 13, 14, 15, 16 strength, and he'll be alive and you'll kill that unit off, but you'll take damage and it'll kind of still work out to be 24 value. So if you really need to kill something important, reduce the amount of units on the row, you can hit things higher, but you don't necessarily have to. It's going to be 24 value, whatever, but just be aware that if you're hitting armor, then it's going to be a lot worse for you, so just be careful about that. The next ability is to reset a unit. This one is very specific. Obviously you can use it to heal, or you can use it to reset the opponent's buffs, but I think it is quite specific. I mean, unless you're facing Double-Finer Protectors or something which buffs like crazy, like Imperial Brigade, then it's going to be hard to get. I think you need 13 strength in order for it to be higher than strengthen to 25, because you'll get to keep your 12. So you just need to be able to knock down 13 buff from someone, or heal up 13 buff, and it'll be worth it over everything else. But it is slightly specific, but that's why there's an element of choice when you're choosing. And finally, we've got the last one. Destroy enemies with less than 4 power. So if it's 3 strength or less, destroyed. So it's reminiscent of the old Draug ability. Okay, so this one is very situational. Probably not likely you'll take it very often, but there are some situations where it could get you ungodly amounts of power. If you're playing an Arrakis Behemoth Consume deck and they've got loads of 3 strength Arrakis on the board, Harpies, Harpy Eggs, there's a lot of things that it could possibly hit, and you could just destroy loads of stuff. Situational, but the power is, could be quite high, but I think most of the time it won't be that high. So, these two are slightly situational, but at the end of a long round, which is probably when you'll play them, you could possibly get a unit to reset, and they could possibly have quite a lot of 4 strength units. That one's going to be difficult to use if they start buffing, though. So as for the Knight variation, 25 strength, some okay options, some not okay options, I think. I'd say 25 strength or dual was probably the easiest ones to go for, with that one being a really cool highlight reel one when you can get it. So they're all the variations of Shupe, and let's just think about which one you'd really kind of like to go for. Now, in my Squirtail deck, I like to go for the Hunter. I don't mind doing the damage, which is reasonably good, but most of the time I want to try and replay Barclay Owls or replay Hawley or something big like that. I really enjoy doing that. Or playing, more silvers from my deck can be quite impressive. I think Knight is if you don't know or you haven't got much else, maybe if he's on his own, like it's your last card or nearly last card, there's not much synergy with the Hunter, or the opponent hasn't played anything too big, you can just get a really big unit. And Mage is there for, I think it's probably one of the more RNG in its abilities, drawing a card, putting loads of weather down. They're really strong, but also, are they going to get you what you want? Is it actually going to be effective, or are they going to clear the weather? You're going to get the card you want. So I think for different matchups it works. Now, hopefully I've given you an idea of what particular abilities it's got and what the potential for this card is. Now, I think this card, while I think it's amazing, I do think Sirinova is probably better and will see a lot more play, because you can still build reasonably okay decks when you've only got 2 of each bronze, and she is really powerful. You drop her down, she strengthens to 25 as well. And she's consistent, whereas this guy is not. But he is a power play. He's a really strong card, stronger than a lot of golds in the game, but you obviously have to weaken yourself. So I hope you enjoyed Shupe's bizarre adventure with me, KBT, and I'll see you again next time. Take care, everyone.